Mr. R. Venkatramani, Attorney General for India, Mr. Tushar Mehta, Learned Solicitor General of India, all the law officers, Mr. Vikas Singh, President of the Supreme Court Bar Association, Mr. Pradeep Kumar Rai, Mr. Rahul Kaushik, Mr. Manoj Mishra, President of the Supreme Court Advocates on Record Association, members of the family of late Justice A.M. Ahmadi who are present here and those who have joined us virtually, learned senior members of the bar, ladies and gentlemen. In assembling together, we pay our homage and tribute to one of the finest minds and a true friend of our legal fraternity, Justice Aziz Mushabber Ahmadi, former Chief Justice of India. He completed his mortal journey, having led a full and fulfilling life, on 2nd of March. Our country has lost a jurist of a historic stature. As a young adult, Justice Ahmadi wanted to join the Merchant Navy and was selected. However, the selection letter was opened by his father, who himself was a judge in the district judiciary under the erstwhile state of Bombay. His father disapproved of the idea, and as fate would have it, Justice Ahmadi ended up following his father's footsteps. He often said that he did not choose law, but rather the law chose him. Justice Ahmadi was a man of many parts. He played cricket with the noted cricketer Salim Durrani, who passed away exactly a month after him on 2nd of April 2023. Justice Ahmadi began his legal career in 1954 when he started his practice at the bar in Bombay and later enrolled as an advocate of the High Court of Gujarat after the reorganization of states in 1962. As a member of the bar, he was among the pioneers of the legal aid movement in Gujarat. His legal acumen and advocacy skills were recognized soon enough, and he came to be appointed as a judge in the City Civil and Sessions Court of Ahmedabad in 1964. Appointment to the City Civil Court in those days was a stepping stone to a call to the bench of the High Court. In an interview, Justice Ahmadi narrates that he had no inkling of his appointment, and when Chief Justice J.M. Shelat offered him judgeship, he took some time to consult his family and especially his wife. He wanted to know whether his wife would be willing to live the life of a judge's spouse. In the end, Mrs. Ahmadi agreed. His children, Huzaifa and Tasneem, told me that Justice Ahmadi had a poor sense of direction and would often rely on his wife to guide him to the destination. His wife, Amina, was truly his guiding light in life. With her support and partnership, Justice Ahmadi rose from the ranks and was elevated to be a judge of the Gujarat High Court in 1976, and thereafter a judge of this court in December 1998. Justice Ahmadi holds the distinct honor of handling the judicial process at all three levels of the judiciary. Justice Ahmadi served this institution with consummate dedication and a fierce devotion to fairness, equity, and justice for 9 long years. He assumed the mantle of the Chief Justice of India on 25 October 1994 and became the 26th Chief Justice of India. The records of the Supreme Court Registry reflect that Justice Ahmadi was a member of the bench in 811 judgments, of which he himself had authored 232 judgments. Justice Ahmadi was at his inimitable best in the courtroom. As a judge of exceptional intellectual abilities, he made significant contributions to the development of law, advancing the cause of secularism, substantive equality, freedom, dignity, and liberty. Some of his notable judgments include S.R. Bommai, L. Chandrakumar, Indira Sawhney, and Keshav Mahindra, dealing with the Bhopal gas tragedy. In S.R. Bommai versus Union of India, Justice Ahmadi wrote a separate 37-page judgment in which he emphasized the importance of accommodation and tolerance towards vulnerable religious, social, and linguistic groups, and concluded that adequate provisions had been enshrined in the Constitution to keep, as he said, divisive forces in check. In L. Chandrakumar versus Union of India, writing for the bench, Justice Ahmadi held that the power of judicial review vested in the High Courts and in the Supreme Court, enabling legislative action to be subjected to the scrutiny of superior courts, was an integral and essential feature of the Constitution, constituting part of its basic structure. In Alauddin versus State of Bihar, he laid down the procedure to be followed by judges in the matter of sentencing in terms of Section 235(2) of the Code of Criminal Procedure, 1973. He said that this provision is salutary and must be strictly followed. He held, and I quote, "When the court is called upon to choose between the convict's cry, 'I want to live,' and the prosecutor's demand, 'he deserves to die,' it goes without saying that the court must show a high degree of concern and sensitiveness in the choice of sentence. It need hardly be mentioned that in many cases, a sentencing decision has far more serious consequences on the offender and his family members." Justice Ahmadi was not one to shy away from writing a dissent where he believed that it was essential. He, along with Justice S.P. Bharucha, dissented with the majority view in the acquisition of certain areas of Ayodhya Act, holding the act to be unconstitutional. Aside from being one of the finest jurists, Justice Ahmadi was a great administrator, for the case pendency dipped to an all-time low during his term as the Chief Justice of India. When Justice Ahmadi joined the Supreme Court, he noticed that the total use of computers in those days was hardly 3% of its optimum capacity, and they were merely being used as word processors. When he took over as a chief, he transformed the way the Supreme Court used technology. He introduced computerized cause lists and made formal and extensive use of computers in the routine functions of the law. He built on the skills and management principles which he had devised during his time in the trial court and developed a method of categorization and classification of cases. After the successful categorization of cases, he got the docket pendency analyzed and took the challenge head on. He often had the slogan, "Don't get scared by numbers." Lord Justice Harry Wolff, the then Chief Justice of England and Wales, who welcomed Justice Ahmadi as the honorary master bencher of the Middle Temple, London, referred to him as the case cracker due to his success in reducing pendency of cases in the Indian Supreme Court. Justice Ahmadi has set the bar really high for his successors to follow. Justice Ahmadi extended active support to young advocates and encouraged them to appear before him. He made digital copies of judgments available so that junior members of the bar, in particular, those who could not afford the high costs of procuring books, could access the floppies and the CDs prepared by the Supreme Court. In an interview, he said that the basic idea was to ensure that junior members will have the advantage of a well-equipped library for that matter. His first step in increasing access to the judgments of the Supreme Court aided in increasing access to justice. Justice Ahmadi firmly believed in promoting young talent. In 1995, he formally introduced the system of judicial clerkships at the Supreme Court by employing a then fresh graduate, Arun Kumar Tiruvengadam, now a professor of law, as a judicial clerk. Justice Ahmadi often relied on the judicial law clerks to assist him in research and was open to their ideas and opinions. His dedication and devotion towards law, coupled with the aim of imparting quality education and encouraging young law students, did not let him stop after his retirement, and he accepted the position of chancellorship at the Aligarh Muslim University. He was conferred with several international recognitions and honorary degrees. He was a member of the American Inns of Court and was conferred a degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa by the University of Leicester, England. He was nominated to various international committees and led several delegations and missions to East Timor, Liberia, Bangladesh, and Zimbabwe. When I had been offered judgeship, I had the opportunity to seek the advice of Justice Ahmadi. He was one of the arbitrators of a 3-member arbitral tribunal where I was representing the Reserve Bank of India in a dispute with a Canadian banknote company. On the last date of the arbitration in Ottawa, Canada, I sought an appointment with Justice Ahmadi for a personal matter. With a heart ready to help, he readily gave me sage words of wisdom. As I was still contemplating on whether to continue with my decision to accept judgeship, I asked him whether, after having spent his entire career in service, he still thought it was all worth it. Without a moment of hesitation, Justice Ahmadi said, "Absolutely worth it. I have not regretted a moment." And he said to me, "Do not look back, for I have never looked back." The life so well lived by Justice Ahmadi shows that the value of a true leader lies in the next generation, which he inspires and mentors through his words and actions. Justice Ahmadi has influenced multiple generations of lawyers and judges, including me, with his exceptional life. Throughout his illustrious career, Justice Ahmadi was known for his tireless work ethic, sharp intellect, and unwavering fidelity to the highest constitutional ideals. He was a beacon of hope for those seeking redressal through the legal system and was respected by all for his integrity and impartiality. Justice Ahmadi shared an unbreakable bond with his wife, who predeceased him by 6 months. There is an abiding photograph of both of them sharing a tender coconut, a dab as we say in Bangla, or a shahada as we say in Marathi, and smiling contently and peacefully, two straws sipping a single tender coconut. About his wife, he once said, "She is an unsung hero who always believes in work and not credit. To me, she is a great life partner, friend, and guide who also had a great sense of understanding and respect. She has indeed made my life easy and happy. I'm highly grateful to Allah for giving me such a nice life partner." As I said earlier, since she provided directions to him when he drove his Fiat car, he would joke that she is his guiding light. What my own elder sister said of my parents applies or describes the relationship of Justice Ahmadi and the spouse. They were truly a package deal. On a flight from Delhi to Mumbai, when I was a young lawyer, I happened to occupy the seat next to Justice Ahmadi while his wife was seated across the aisle. When I offered my seat for her to occupy, Justice Ahmadi waved me to sit by him and tell him something about the legal profession as a young lawyer saw it. The monsoon flight to Mumbai was bumpy, and Justice Ahmadi muffled to me, "Watch my wife," he said. "She will start praying soon." Soon thereafter, I saw Mrs. Ahmadi pull out a copy of the Quran as she started reading it for protection for her and everyone else on the flight. He knew her truly well. Justice Ahmadi had a sense of humor without being trenchant. The noted astrologer Bejan Daruwala was a college friend. When he asked young Ahmadi whether he could read his horoscope, he replied, "How much will you pay me if I allowed you to read it?" Justice Ahmadi is survived by his children, Mr. Huzaifa Ahmadi, a distinguished senior advocate at our bar, and Ms. Tasneem Ahmadi, a leading lawyer at the Supreme Court, his daughter-in-law Insia Ahmadi, and his beloved grandchildren Insia, Adnan, and Ali Asgar. In an article in the Indian Express on 11 March 2023, his granddaughter Insia Vanvati writes that Justice Ahmadi always took out time for his family, whether it was to play a game of table tennis after the 9 p.m. news or to engage in deep and meaningful conversations about life and law. His family and confidants had the unique pleasure of observing Justice Ahmadi and learning the essential lessons of integrity, conviction, and courage under fire while maintaining dignity. Insia Vanvati captures the great loss that the legal community and the entire country feels on the passing of Justice Ahmadi. She writes, and I quote, "Although he no longer walks amongst us and the world feels like a light has gone out without him, his legacy and memory live on forever in the hearts of all those who had the privilege of knowing him. We extend our deepest condolences to his family, friends, and colleagues. When our parents are no longer with us, fond memories and their values provide sustenance to our lives. We pray to the Almighty to give strength to the members of his family and to bear the loss, as well as to have the wisdom to pursue his values. May we find the strength and courage to carry Justice Ahmadi's legacy forward." Attention.
Honorable the Chief Justice of India, Honorable Judges of the Supreme Court, Solicitor General of India, the Additional Solicitor General, President and Office Bearers of the Supreme Court Bar Association, President and Office Bearers of the Supreme Court Advocates and Record Association, esteemed members of the Justice Ahmadi family, members of the bar, ladies and gentlemen. We have gathered here today to pay tribute to the extraordinary life and legacy of Chief Justice A.M. Ahmadi, the 26th Chief Justice of India. When we gather to remember the life and times of great contributors to administration of justice, we are engulfed by a sublime environment. All minds become keen to gather the enriching memories about the life and contributions of such persona. I understand that these sublime feelings with themselves are a great persuasion to collectively stand by the noble values and goals passionately pursued by such contributors. Chief Justice Ahmadi, it can be well stated that he dedicated the entire life in the path of administration of justice in its manifold sense. By his extensive contributions in the field of law and justice, spread over several engagements and dimensions of such pursuits, the riches that have been added to the field of justice are immeasurable. With his passing away on March 2023, we mourn the loss of a great legal luminary. Destiny assigned various duties to be discharged by him, transitioning from a lawyer to serving as a civil and session judge, holding the position of a law secretary for the state of Gujarat, and in due course getting elevated as a judge at the Gujarat High Court. The sum of all the above contributions marked him as a definite candidate to becoming a judge of the Honorable Court. His contribution to the development of criminal jurisprudence are noteworthy, particularly Keshav Mahendra was State of MP on the intent part under Section 304A of the Indian Penal Code in the context of the Bhopal gas leak tragedy. Sanjay Dutt was a state on the indefeasible right of the accused to be released on bail within the tight scope of the scheme of Tada. Amir Shad Khan was a Himingalyana, emphasizing the dual obligation of a detaining authority. Niranjana Singh was Jitendra Bhimraj on the strict construction of terms of imprisonment under Tada. These judgments and some of the important dimensions of criminal law and procedure, laced with keen insights, continue to shape the law. In the Philippine encounter deaths matter triggered by the writ petition filed by Mr. R. Surya, advocate, Chief Justice Ahmadi stood firmly in endorsement of the intervention by the court. Justice Ahmadi also found that it is the duty of the court to keep at bay attempts to stall such proceedings, which happened in the writ petition filed by an inspector of police claiming to act in a representative capacity on behalf of the UP police force. The opinion of the court is an example of the balance between the credibility and impartiality of an investigation without casting any reflection on the police force. The court engaged in a noteworthy analysis of Article 142 of the Constitution. After referring to the Delhi Judicial Service Association case and the Union Carbide Corporation case. This analysis is a further reflection of the Honorable Judge's keen perception of the unique feature of Article 142 of the Constitution, elevating its importance consistent with the necessary restraint that will go into the invocation of Article 142 of the Constitution. Two thoughtful opinions penned by Justice Ahmadi deserve acknowledgement. The observation made in RKJ in the Union of India has set in motion over a period of time the importance of looking at sound tribunalization with due importance to the independence of the judiciary. The principle of suspension of a conviction of a sentence in the context of avoidance of disqualification laid down in Ramnarang versus Nameshwarang pertaining to a director of a company anxious to avoid disqualification has now become part of the law of suspension of conviction with its inroads into election law. If one has to quickly scan the length and range of fields of law visited by judgments such as Ahmadi, we can see that it extends and the importance of the right to know about the affairs of the government formulated in Dinesh Trivedi's case, the importance of the right to exhibit a broadcast in Doordarshan, a work critical of the governmental functions, as propounded in LIC versus Madhubai Shaw, the question as to whether a person who is not elected as a member of either House of Parliament can be sworn into the Prime Minister, touching upon the interpretation of Article 75, among other provisions of the Constitution, answered in a fine balance of logic, relevance, and representative democracy, rendered in SP versus H.T. Devagowda, a few indelible dimensions of jurisprudence. Justice Ahmadi's dissenting view in NDMC versus State of Punjab where he voiced a strong opinion against the court lapsing into dealing with issues not directly raised in the proceeding, is a caution forever to be kept in mind. The narration will be incomplete if we don't advert to the milestone laid by the court in the TN session case, which has added strength and substance to the election law of the country, as also the judgment in NHRC with the state of Arunachal Pradesh, with an unqualified emphasis on the life and liberty right under Article 21 of the Constitution. How can one close one's attention to three other seminal constitutional contributions rendered in Bommai, Indira Sani, and L. Chandra Kumar? No part of the important chapters of a constitutional adjudication remain uninfluenced by this opinion. In one sense, S.R. Bommai and Ismail Faruqi stand together in the staunch advancement of secularism. The post-retirement life of Chief Justice Ahmadi bears testimony to his compassion and commitment to several human causes as well as social interests. He passionately engaged himself in the activities of the Bhopal Memorial Hospital Trust on his appointment as chairman. Records show that Justice Ahmadi played a significant role in the establishment of the Bhopal Memorial Hospital and Research Center. It is said the service rendered by him is visible in the commendable quality of medical treatment made available to the gas victims, and the hospital remains even today as an important center of medical care. It's just a matter of course that he received several international recognition. His work in the amelioration of human rights violation in East Timor is exemplary. Justice Ahmadi's contribution to the cause of legal education and laying emphasis on the importance of clinical legal education and attainment of equipment, coupled with ethics, continue to inform the Bar Council of India in its ongoing engagement in the cause of legal education. The recommendation made by the committee headed by Justice Ahmadi towards the important amendment to the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993 in strengthening the NHRC with least governmental intervention is yet another illustration of the balancing of principles in conflict. His pioneering work as executive chairman of the Committee for Implementing Legal Aid Schemes opened up new avenues. I was fortunate to receive an autographed copy of his book, Flow of Thought, at the time of its launch. At a personal level, Chief Justice Ahmadi will be forever remembered by me as the Chief Justice who was instrumental in my designation as senior advocate. In addition to having been chairman of several advisory boards and Gujarat State Pay Commission and member of the Ravi and of the Water Dispute Tribunal, Justice Ahmadi served as the distinguished chancellor of Aligarh Muslim University for more than one term. Ahmadi's legacy is not only defined by the remarkable judgment, but also by his dedication to nurturing young talent. In conclusion, let us remember that Ahmadi is a beacon of justice, a champion of equality, and a tireless advocate for the rights of all. His legacy will continue to guide us as we strive to build a more just and inclusive society.
Honorable the Chief Justice of India, Dr. Dhananjay Chandrachud, Honorable Judges of this Court, Learned Attorney General for India, Shri R. Venkatramani, Shri Tushar Mehta, Learned Solicitor General of India, Law Officers of Government of India, members of the family of late Justice A.M. Ahmadi, members of the Executive Committee of the SCBA, Shri Manoj Mishra, President SCORA, members of the Executive Committees of SCORA, members of the Bar, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have assembled here to honor the legacy and pay homage to Justice A.M. Ahmadi, who made immense contributions to constitutional jurisprudence of our nation. Justice Ahmadi was born on 25th March 1932 in Surat, Gujarat, hailing from the Dawoodi Bohra community. He was the son of a junior civil judge. His father's decision to enroll him into the science stream made Justice Ahmadi realize the hard way that science was not his cup of tea. Thereafter, he decided to join the field of law. He did his first year of law from Sir L.A. Shah College in Ahmedabad, but upon his father's transfer to Surat, he completed law from the Sarjanik Law College, Surat. Clearing the enrollment examination in first attempt, Justice Ahmadi began his career as a lawyer in 1954 by enrolling as a district pleader in the Bombay High Court and commenced his practice thereafter in Ahmedabad. It is worthy to mention that Justice Ahmadi donned many hats, from a lawyer to being appointed as a judge in the City Civil and Sessions Court for Ahmedabad, as Law Secretary to the State of Gujarat, then as a judge of the High Court of Gujarat, and ultimately being elevated to the Supreme Court. I remember reading somewhere that Justice Ahmadi had no inkling for his appointment as a City Civil and Sessions judge. One day he was called to the Chief Justice J.M. Shaila's chamber. Justice Ahmadi was quite nervous as to why he was summoned. During the meeting, after talking about several things, he was offered the position, thoroughly surprising him. He sought time to consult his family, especially his wife, as he needed to know if she would be willing to be a judge's wife. Justice Shalat, however, asked Justice Ahmadi not to reveal it to anyone as it was supposed to be kept a secret. Justice Ahmadi immediately responded by saying that his answer would be a no, as he could not take such a momentous decision without consulting his wife. Thereafter, Justice Shalat reluctantly allowed Justice Ahmadi to consult his wife, who finally agreed. During his tenure as a judge of the Gujarat High Court, who served as a member of several advisory boards, such as Advisory Board under the Conservation of Foreign Exchange, Prevention of Smuggling Activities Act 74, Prevention of Black Marketing, Maintenance of Essential Commodities, and the Gujarat State Third Pay Commission. He also served as a member of the Ravi Vyas Water Disputes Tribunal, Punjab Settlement. He served as president of the Supreme Court Legal Aid Committee and as an executive chairman of the Committee for Implementing Legal Aid Schemes in India. On 25th October, he was appointed as the 26th Chief Justice of India, the third Muslim Chief Justice of secular India, after Justice Muhammad Hidayatullah and Justice Mirza Hamidullah Beg, and continued to serve in that capacity for more than 2.5 years. Justice Ahmadi was known for his sharp legal mind, his commitment to justice, his integrity, and made countless noteworthy contributions in shaping legal education. Widely regarded as a visionary in the legal field, he laid the foundation for modern-day legal education and its continued evolution. A judgment should be drafted when read is able to explain the complex and vexed question of law and facts to a stranger. A perusal of judgments authored by Justice Ahmadi would reveal how complex legal is can be explained in simple and understandable terms. It is no secret that Justice Ahmadi was a hard taskmaster and an able administrator. His administrative skills bore results when by the end of his tenure as Chief Justice, the pendency of cases came down to 1,800 from 1,20,000, as told by him in an interview to the Bar and Bench published on 7th August 2014. As Chief Justice, he ensured the usage of computers was expanded to their optimum capacity. Notable examples are the classification and categorization of cases and making caseload available in digital format. He was aware and sensitive towards the obstacles faced by junior members of the bar in accessing judgments, as many could not afford subscription to libraries and purchase expensive books. Thus, an endeavor was made during his tenure to prepare reasonably priced CD-ROMs and floppy disks to aid them. Justice Ahmadi is also to be credited for starting the judicial clerkship in the Supreme Court. Justice Ahmadi was very good to the junior bar. I once overheard him telling someone while he was Chief Justice that I can ensure SLPs come in 3 days, but that will affect the mentioning which go on for juniors. It will only allow them to mention and not dismiss mentioning. It helps the junior bar. I personally have been having very strong, fond memories of appearing before Justice Ahmadi as a junior member of the bar then. In Ismail Faruqi versus Union of India, Justice Bharucha and Justice Ahmadi formed part of a minority judgment. In the judgment authored by Justice Bharucha, the minority found the acquisition of certain areas at Ayodhya 1993 to be unconstitutional. They opined that the act limited to Muslim communities' ability to seek justice by preventing them from pleading and demonstrating adverse position. The court determined that such a limitation was against the fundamental principles of the Constitution and antithetical to the notion of secularism. While setting aside the act, the dissenting opinion noted, Ayodhya is a storm that will pass. The dignity and honor of the Supreme Court cannot be compromised because of it. In 2008, Justice Ahmadi released a book titled A Guide to Uplift Minorities, brought out by Jamaat-e-Islami Hind to help and guide the social workers who were active in the field of welfare of minorities. The 207-page book was meant to guide the non-government organizations working for the minority communities to run their programs effectively with effective aid from the government and other funding agencies. He was a staunch champion of human rights, and beside his profound contribution to the Indian judicial system, he, at the behest of the United Nations International Court of Justice, World Bank, and International Bar Association Human Rights Institute, led several delegations and missions to East Timor, Liberia, Bangladesh, and Zimbabwe, respectively. After his retirement, he was invited to speak at various universities and forums worldwide. In India, he used his status to speak on political issues such as minority rights. He was a man of staunch conviction and belief who remained unfazed by criticism of the media. He was widely known for his professional qualities. Not many know that he was also blessed with a great sense of humor and full of stories, humorous stories. He was occasionally tempted into a game of Ludo or table tennis. Justice Ahmadi had a naughty side to him also. During his college days, it was compulsory to have headlamps on cycles which were never switched on during evening. If not, then the police used to stop and confiscate the cycle. While Justice Ahmadi used to cycle, he used to remain the light, he would put the light on. But once he reached near the police station, he would purposely switch it off. The police then stopped him, to which Justice Ahmadi used to reply, "No, it was working. Check it once. The bulb is warm." He used to thoroughly enjoy these episodes when the police they had no option but to let him off, as the bulb indeed remained warm. Justice Ahmadi was extremely close to his wife, late Amina Ahmadi. She was his tremendous pillar of strength who stood by him through the difficult and trying times. Her demise in August 22 was probably the biggest loss in his life. Since her passing away, Justice Ahmadi was dispirited and probably lost the will to live. Justice Ahmadi was also culturally active. He used to be a member of the Navratra committee that used to be there during Navratri season in Gujarat. He liked and took a lot of interest in gardening. While he was in the High Court, he had bonsai plants of his own. However, due to grueling work schedules in Supreme Court, he could not pursue that interest here in Supreme Court. His children never practiced in Supreme Court while he was a judge in the Supreme Court. He was of the firm belief that it was desirable for the institution that children or relatives of sitting judges do not practice in Supreme Court. He left for his heavenly abode on 23rd March 2023. He is survived by his son Huzaifa Ahmadi, an eminent senior advocate of this court, and his daughter Taslim, also a very eminent advocate. I offer my deepest condolences to the family on behalf of the Supreme Court Bar Association.
May I request all of you to stand up to observe 2 minutes silence in memory of late Honorable Chief Justice A.M. Ahmadi, former Chief Justice of India.